Hi, everybody. Today is a 1,158 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. I hope I have that right. I'll check it in a few days to make sure that I have all the days right because we're, way over 3 years and um, everyday breaking news, so much going on. So much going on every day that we don't have a huge staff. I say that all the time because the huge staffs of our generals, of those that are in authority, they're up to no good. They're absolutely up to no good. And they should have been doing this, right? Representative Torres, we have added her to our letters because she needs to know what she advocated for up in Quantico and what they're doing. And these staffs, these huge staffs, millions of dollars, millions that turn into billions, that turn into trillions. And, what are they doing? Right? That they will tell a family that they have to be the lead investigator, that we have to be the lead investigator, otherwise they can't do anything. That's how crazy this is, and so we don't have the staff. We have Team Fine Richard Halliday, which is growing every day, of busy workers, uh, talented workers, um, giving back to society, and I keep them updated every day uh, with what's going on with Richard's case. And we have what 191 signatures now on the petition supporting this. We know who he is, but we've kept his name silent to protect him because that the FBI informants out there, the ones that are in very big trouble, the ones that are up to no good, the ones that are more concerned with their sex cult and their weapons trafficking and their selling illegal drugs to our volunteer sons and daughters and, creating a real big mess and, you know, not supporting whistleblowers, that's for sure, because they're a criminal cabal. What they do with the harassing, with months and months of harassing, threats, um, they even throw money at it, and we've have an open records request for the monies, and we have calculated the monies that have spent, and we would like to corroborate what we have, and it's millions of dollars, y'all, millions of dollars because of the lawyers that are involved in this. One particular lawyer that soon it's all going to come out, and the connections with even Angela Kucherga, up to no good, Bob Moore with Media Matters, KTEP, and they're publicly funded, which makes this really shocking that they would become political attack dogs, but that's exactly what happened. Because don't tell me that uh, a award-winning journalist did not do a simple background check on Leilani Hart and David Pochet. Of course, they absolutely knew that they had records that Leilani Hart is a convicted criminal and 100% disabled veteran, and so uh, no forensics. Not only did she not tell her audience in the article that was a retaliatory story against a key witness in Richard's case that obstructed justice, right? Because of all the following events, the ramifications of that story. The media has a lot of power and they know it. And this right here was a maneuver to obstruct justice, to tamper with a witness, to intimidate a witness, to intimidate a whistleblower, to tamper with a whistleblower, to deny due process. Absolutely. That's what this was. And the connections in it all is, you know, it's almost like, okay, now I understand. Now I understand how this criminal cabal has its grip on our media, right? And why they can get away with what they get away with because they spin the narrative all the time and harass and intimidate any whistleblower or witnesses that might come out and expose their criminal activities. And so that is really, really big news because we are very close to receiving all of the warrants in Richard's case. And those probable cause warrant the probable cause arguments that proceeded with the warrants. There are many of them, y'all. Many. So what does that tell you? That this is huge criminal activity, and then I think that they opened that can of worms. Richard screwed it open a little bit, and when they were doing the warrants, the probable causes, it really opened up, and it's pretty wormy. It's pretty slimy. It's pretty criminal. Absolutely. So so they spent millions of dollars to cover it up. And one of the things that has been revealed now is what did they use to lay down the foundation of the cover up? Well, they used a smear campaign against Richard, right? If they could just smear him, if they could just change the narrative, then everybody would be like, okay, another one bites the dust. Oh, well, let's look the other way, right? But what they were saying, how they were smearing him, was so insane because we know him, right? We know him. And we have presented him to you with the Distinguished Honor Graduate video for his cycle and basic training in AIT with all of the photos. That's why we did that, because we wanted you to get to know who Richard is. The true Richard, the real Richard. We put forth the pictures of him in Korea, family pictures in Ireland. The one family video, and I need to put it up again, is us in our backyard in Ireland, where it's a beautiful day, gorgeous day, and the guys are shirtless with their long pants on and their wellies. And I'm spraying them with a hose, and then they got the hose and they were spraying me. And Rob was, getting the grill together and working outside on our beautiful property there. Um, it's just to get to know us as a family. That's why we put it up there. But guess what? It got reported because the guys were topless in it. I guess they've never watched Top Gun, right? They've never watched the new Maverick movie. They can't handle it. They're predators and they go after children and they want child porn, but yet they will block, they will report, they will shut down a beautiful family video that is wholesome, fun, and on a beautiful day in Ireland, beautiful day and at Drumroe in County Longford, Ireland. Um, yeah, that's these people. They don't want you to know who we are and who Richard is. They want to start a smear campaign, and we put forth even Richard's Christmas tree. Remember that? We um, we have his Christmas tree and his ornaments, and we put forth just a, a beautiful video that Allison made, uh, about our family and about Richard. And one of the things that they did to retaliate against him, because now everyone that has been watching lately understands that Richard, Christian, a Christian, um, wanted to go into law enforcement. And, he was, aspired. He knew that if he was going to go into law enforcement, I mean, if he was going to do that in the military, at least he thought so. He thought this is how it worked. He didn't realize you had to be some kind of predator criminal to be in the CID. He thought you had to be an upright, hardworking, aspiring volunteer soldier. And so he worked very hard in basic training in AIT and became number one. He was number one graduate, distinguished honor graduate. And then he went to his unit. He was the guidon bearer. He also got combat life saving, which is, to honor his father, being a PA. Rob was a PA, and he ran many of those combat lifesaver um, qualifications, right? He did that. He would put that together when he was in the military, to make everyone a medic, right? A little minor medic, a little minor medic. So Richard went and got that early on, and also pursued law enforcement. And I even talked to Special Agent Soto when he was there, but he's been demoted. Um, obviously, and needfully, rightfully so. But when I would talk to Special Agent Soto at the CID there at Fort Bliss, I said, and we have this inquiry from Richard into going into the CID. Do you have that? And he's like, oh yeah, he he inquired to go into the CID, and but then he didn't tell us. Oh, yeah, he was an intern in the CID. I knew him. He didn't say that. And absolutely, Richard through Park University. And you don't have to have all of these like senior qualifications or how many years. If you go to Park University, and I probably took that screenshot, I'll take another one. But if you go to Park University, you don't, you just have to get someone to to recommend you for it. And so it seems like Ann Ogle, Thomas Kane, those were his professors for criminology, sociology, psychology, would recommend him for the CID internship when he came back from his 10-month deployment in Qatar. And so that is when things really started, and he became a whistleblower. He saw something and he decided to say something. And of course, it is about the weapons smuggling. It is about the um, the predator nature towards children and the child pornography. Um, and when they do, okay, I'll just stick with what I want to say. My mind was going down a rabbit hole. Um, so, he absolutely saw the narcotics trafficking. And so he said something. And he became a whistleblower at that point. And whistleblowers are those that are inside the agency, the organization, that are exposing wrongdoing, criminal activity. And that's what a whistleblower is. I couldn't be a whistleblower because I'm not in that system. I'm not in that organization. I'm not in that agency to report the wrongdoing. I'm a civilian reporting the wrongdoing in our son's case, absolutely. Um, but Richard was a whistleblower, and because they have no, they can't just quit their job. They have to they have rights then, protection, whistleblower protections that they need to get that are crucial to protect their lives. And that's why we have so many that have been suicided, that have been killed, that have been retaliated against severely and continuously. It's not just Richard. It's many whistleblowers like Vanessa Guillen, like Austin Hawk, and I could name many, many more. And lately, my mom's like, "Where are they lately?" I said, "They're hiding a lot of what's going on lately." But, we do know there was a 14-year-old girl living in the barracks, being prostituted out in the barracks every night. And from The Sound of Freedom that it's not just one time a night. These children have horrible lives and suffer unimaginable. To have those kind of nights, it's how can you recover from that? Only by the grace of God, right? So it is these predators in our top agency positions. Like, I want to know who this Lavia is. Lavia, that who is that Lavia name? I don't know. Checking that out. There's several different names that are popping up, but so you have the names of Bernabe, Lieutenant General Bernabe. You have the names of Lieutenant or General McConville, who's out now, right? He made an exit. But you know what? He needs to be arrested. Okay, he needs to be arrested. And um, yeah, and Mealy with him. And we'll see what's going on with Donna Martin because she's in charge of the IG. She was in charge of the CID, and now she's in charge of the IG, the Inspector General. Um, wow. And these people, these generals, they absolutely knew that the smear campaign against Richard was just that, a fake smear campaign, because they had access to Richard's life. Okay, they had access to our life, and they met with us many times, and they absolutely knew that this was a smear campaign. And so McGee, SJA McGee, which is the lawyer, I think he was a lieutenant colonel or colonel. Anyway, I have to ask my husband, McGee. Um, so yeah, we we have a nickname for him, but SJA McGee. And if the nickname slips, then you'll know it's a nickname for him. But anyway, so he was the one whispering in Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe's ear all the time, or making Bernabe's mouth move, whatever you want to say. Because one thing that I learned through all of this is that these generals don't do anything without being told by a lawyer, without being told by an SJA. And Lieutenant General Bernabe even admitted that out loud. So, which is why do we have generals then? Why don't we just give the stars to the lawyers, right? And save us a bunch of money with these generals, because they can't do anything without um, the lawyers. It's anyway. It's just a thought. I know it's kind of ridiculous thought, but it's a thought because it all seems so insane to me, such a waste of money, everything. Um, and it still does, even more so now, even more so. Um, so what these generals have, what they have known, is that the smears on Richard were absolutely just that, smears. That they were false, that they were groundless, and that those lies cannot live forever. The lies don't last. The truth is what lasts. And that's why I decided to share just some personal photos today. And I'll even share it here. Let's see. Let's see. There it is. Yeah. Um, yeah. Okay, so I just took these photos. And the reason why is because, as you might know, um, my son-in-law, one of my son-in-laws is Korean, and they celebrate Chuseok. Chuseok is Thanksgiving in South Korea, and it's coming up. And it's because it's celebrated on this full moon, the full moon after the autumn equinox. And I have this farming history um, where I have sat in many of combines harvesting wheat and sorghum, mainly wheat and sorghum. Uh, and it's wheat is really, I love it. I love to harvest wheat. And once the grain is a certain humidity, you have to harvest it. Okay? It's really, really important. And people might not know this, but the moonlight rots things. It's a cold light. It is not from the sun. It is a totally different light, and it is putrefying. Oh, I hate that word. Putrefying, which means it rots things, right? It rots. Um, and so, the good thing about harvesting on a full moon, and this is like a bonus, but I want to tell you why this is so important to think about these things when you're dealing with a case like Richard's. Okay, why it's so important to think about these simple things that are so true. And it is so true that the moon will rot a piece of meat if you put it out in the moonlight. Okay? Whereas if you put that same meat in a hot sun, it'll dry it out. It'll preserve it. It is preserving. So it's very, very different kind of light. And why do they harvest on a full moon? Well, especially if you are a grain farmer and once you reach that humidity level in your grain, you've got to harvest it and there's no stopping it. And you don't say, oh, it's 5 o'clock now. I got to go home. I'll just turn off the combine and, we'll put some covers over the trucks. No, you have got to harvest that grain all night long and into the next day if that's what it takes. It depends how much land you have and how many combines you have um, in order to get all of that grain ASAP. And if you have a full moon on that night with that light, it's a very good thing because you can see where you're going. Of course, these big combines have um, these big lights on them now. And so that's why it's not as a big of deal for us now. But you'll see a lot of these harvest festivals and also Thanksgivings on, celebrating at this time of year, the perfect time to harvest. And it's just, it, it's just something, I'm a homeschool mom. So I like to share that with even my grandchildren. And so here, I took these tonight. I said, look, isn't that a fascinating, unbelievable picture of this beautiful moon? And I got it even closer. Um, just unbelievable. It's a waxing moon. So, the energy of the moon just waxes. It to a full moon and then it wanes down to the new moon and then it waxes up to the full moon and it's 29 and a half days every every time it phases um, waxes and wanes, it's 29 and a half days. It is a truth. It is a sure thing. And the moon that I saw today in that position, that height, that size, um, that kind of shine, everything about it will once again appear in that same space. It's called a self same day moon in 19 years because the metonic cycle is every 19 years. And it's a sure thing. It is a truth. And, you know, uh, we need truths that we can depend on. And so this is just such a wonderful way to get a skip in your walk, because we have, you know, this fake smeary narrative that, even is saying, oh, you might be pagan if you look at the moon or whatever, and you do the maypole and that. And I'm like, wait a minute. God made the sun and the moon and the stars, and he said it is very good. It is very good. And it's very good. Why? Because it's so dependable. They are on a cycle. You know exactly when the eclipses are happening. You know exactly where the stars are going to be at. You can navigate according to the stars. They are a true clock for us, and much more. And I think it puts a skip in your walk, and it tells you that truth lasts, and truth conquers, and the lies like the smears on Richard, because of these truths being revealed, the truth of God, the truth of our salvation, the joy of our salvation, the sanctification, the sacraments, all of these things. Um, I was convinced with my husband, with Team Find Richard Halliday, convinced that the lies against Richard that we didn't couldn't quite figure out, because this is $1 million effort. Millions of dollars have been poured into this, and in this effort to smear Richard, cover up this code red crime, this murder crime. And it's not just a murder, it happened way before the murder. Okay. Richard's case file happened way before the murder. And, because he was a whistleblower, he was in that CID internship, and he saw something and he said something, and he whistleblew on the CID. Okay. On, and this is why this Lavia person is important here. Um, this is why the generals are important here, because when they started retaliating against him, one of the retaliations was the setup job on the DUI, the DWI. Okay. And that is such a great little false flag, right? That's such a great thing. You just have to have a corrupt canine cop, a canine cop, a family member. The Hart family, Leilani Hart, has a lot of connections. Okay. She's been there a long time. James Hart has been there a long time. Dallas Hart, a long time. And when all these connections come out, um, you will understand more. They have so many connections in that area, in El Paso, on Fort Bliss, and high connections because they've been there for so long, and they've been in law enforcement, and they've been in higher positions like, over the health board of the IDES, Pueblo, in the veterans, which is uh, the Veterans Disability Benefits Health Board. Um, so you can have a lot, you can wield a lot of power with that position, a lot of power, and you can get a lot of Uh, I mean, look at Command Sergeant Major Jakovitz. Go to El Paso, go to Fort Bliss, VA. His name is right there. So he got that sweet little job. And I'm wondering if he has a 10% privilege, right? And, it is shocking for me because he absolutely knew. He absolutely knew about the smears, and he absolutely knew that he participated in bringing young party girls onto Fort Bliss during the COVID lockdown. He absolutely knew. And one of the things that he also said to us when we were there to Team 5 Richard Halliday, he said he didn't even know he had a missing soldier, okay, on his rolls. He didn't know. He didn't know. Um, for a command sergeant major to say that, we all know that that is absolutely ludicrous. That he is, he was called out for that, and that he is just really, really um, cooked. Right? He's just cooked, and 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 that means that he participated in the smear campaign, in the cover up of the murder of a whistleblower that was retaliated against continuously and severely. Like he didn't even care. He didn't even care who Halliday was, even in the wake of Vanessa Guillen and Austin Hawk and Caleb Smither and Enrique Roman Martinez and Lavina Johnson years before. And, then all of a sudden Asia Graham comes right after um, all of this, and he gets this highfalutin job at the VA. That sounds like a dirty deal to me. It really does. Um, so, what does this mean? Because of the institutional support that we are getting now, which it's just coming in, and with the warrants and um, this information that an agreement had been made and is on record that July 9th, this is 2 weeks before Richard went missing in 2020. Okay, July 9th he went missing, July 23rd, uh, who knows exactly. And there was an agreement that the case against Richard, that was clearly a badly done setup job, clearly by the canine corrupt cop, um, was going to be dismissed. That decision was made July 9th, and they all knew it. They all knew it. And yet, they let us think that it was something there. They let us think because it was weaponized. The DUI was weaponized as the foundation of the Gomar, the foundation, an excuse for the chaptering. It was an excuse for the field grade Article 15 and all of the retaliation. And instead of calling it retaliation, they were using it to smear Richard to say, "Oh, see how bad this soldier is." Right? Never a mention that he was a distinguished honor graduate for his cycle and basic training and AIT, that he was a guidon bearer, that he was combat lifesaver, that he was a whistleblower. Never a mention of any of that. No, what they mentioned was the DUI. The DUI that had been dismissed. The agreement was made. Now, it finalized on September, I think 21st. I wrote it down. Make sure. I think it was September 21st. Yeah. Oh, 20th. September 20th, 2021. So more than a year later, they finally dismissed it. Okay, so September 20th, 2021, they finally officially dismissed it. But 2 weeks before, the agreement to have it dismissed was made and recorded. And so the SJA absolutely knew this. Clem Coward absolutely knew this. Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick absolutely knew this. Captain David Park absolutely knew this. And they had nothing. They had nothing. And so they kept up with their millions of dollars of corrupted support. You have to understand this is a lot, when you're smuggling weapons that are paid for by American taxpayers, you're making a lot of money because you don't have any costs, out of pocket costs, right? You're just you just have your time, and so you're smuggling these weapons, you're smuggling the equipment, you're smuggling the ammunition, and you're making a load of money. And in order to do that, you want the chief of security of Fort Bliss on your side, You want well, if you're doing the child pornography and the child trafficking along with it, you want the CYS administrator on your side, especially when they have all those unaccounted for minors, all those the children over there in the emergency intake center that have just come over the border, that have no parents with them. It's kind of like this Maui thing. Where are the children? Right? 85,000 unaccounted for children from the emergency intake center. And, so Richard definitely was blowing the whistle. It was very clear. And the narcotics, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, and narcotics too, you know, and narcotics too. So you're talking about a huge business plan, loads of money, and a lot of people, and that have been compromised by this. And so, the I'm sorry, but the generals, and I am sorry for this, that the generals are so compromised that I have to be a bearer of bad news when it comes to our military. But you see, the leadership it has to be said, because we have those like Richard that join, like Asia Graham, that join with so much excitement. They're so excited. They're young. They're full of vim and vigor. They're full of aspiring ideas, and they're ready to be trained. Some of them are up to no good, of course, because they're full of vim and vigor. I mean, everyone knows when you're 17 to 25, you can be up to no good. And you need good leadership. You need good direction. You need boundaries. And our leadership uh, is negligent and derelict on that part. Absolutely. And even worse, they take advantage of it and they groom them in their sex cults, and they sell them illegal drugs, and they take advantage of their youth, and, smuggle this equipment and weapons and ammunition right in front of them, and, maybe say, okay, I'll give you some bucks because your pay is so bad you have to go on food stamps. I mean, it really is diabolical, and everyone knows it and sees it. And my point is that Gomar, that field grade Article 15, the chaptering, had no grounds at all, and they knew it. They knew it because we have it on July 9th, 2020, that they knew it. And yet they weaponized it and went, shh, shh. Oh, they have his remains. Shh. Oh, yeah, they know that the case has been dismissed. Shh, shh. We'll keep it silent, and we're going to use it. We'll delay the agreement, and we'll use it to weaponize against the family looking for their missing son. We'll use it to weaponize against this whistleblower soldier that has been retaliated severely and murdered in code red, murdered in code red with the full green light of the chain of command. Okay, because any chain of command that would see that agreement on July 9th, 2020, and if they were on the up and up, they would have clicked heels together to find Richard, and they would have never allowed the smear campaign. They would have been singing Richard's praises to get people to look for him. It's the same thing with any look at what they did with this man that was under the knee of the cop or whatever. All they did was try to sing his praises, and they suppressed his criminal history. And so because they were trying to make a point. And see, so this is what happened with Kocherga. She manipulated the truth. But like the moon, the truth cannot stay manipulated. It comes out. It comes out. And that's the hope. When you know that, you have a lot of hope, and you keep going, and you can be told all this nasty stuff, but you absolutely know that goodness wins. Goodness prevails. Truth prevails. Justice prevails. And you might not understand it all. Of course, I don't understand it all. But I have. That's what faith is all about. Is knowing that it will prevail. And I absolutely think that this was a huge victory. This July 9th, 2020 date, because it exposes the highest ranking officers and servants, and servants in this whole case that knows what's going on, that went along with the smears. And do we have corroborating circumstantial evidence? Do we have corroborating evidence for it? Well, we know that in his archive, official file, they don't know anything about a field grade Article 15. It's gone. It's gone. And the chaptering is gone. Is gone. So that means, is this permanent, the permanency of the Gomar gone? I need to look at that. I need to ask my husband if the permanency of the Gomar is gone, because, the whole Gomar should be gone. And then they gave him 2 ranks, one in December of 2022 and again in April of this year, 2023. And so that is really a good example of lots of corroborating evidence that we have that shows that everything against Richard was a smear campaign. They don't have anything, anything. Um, and the truth is now coming out. So we have um, the photo of, we 2 days ago, Team Farm Richard Halliday spoke with, communicated with Interpol, which is a difficult thing to do. And we really, really are celebrating that because they absolutely have registered now as the Hart family being the suspects in this case with others also, and that uh, it is um, a high probability that we suspect that Dallas Hart's face was made, put into a composite image of Richard to mock the Interpol, to mock this case, to mock Interpol. And why did they do that? Because they already had Richard's remains. They already knew where he was and what happened to him. And that is our stand on all of this. And now we have several, that are just people that are in big trouble because they participated with the smear, they participated with the harassment with Richard, they participated with the smear of Team Farm Richard Halliday and the harassment of Team Farm Richard Halliday and the threats of Team Farm Richard Halliday. And now the truth is coming out and they're in trouble. They're in big trouble. So when you see the attacks on Team Farm Richard Halliday escalate, you know that we're getting closer. We're getting closer. It's like the demon wolf howling at the moon. Moon, how dare you? How dare you? Be so full of truth, right? And it's just it's so obvious that they're going to be howling to keep the truth from coming out. And that is that's my opinion on the whole thing. And so that tells you that we're getting very, very close. And I think we're, yeah, I hate to put a timer on it, but we're getting very, very close to the whole thing. Okay, thank you so much, Anicia, for coming out again, especially on a Saturday night. Prayers for justice. And Danielle, thank you so much for your prayers and everything that you do. So I just uh, want to make one more pleading gesture, and that is for this soldier, this active duty soldier that has put in an inquiry for a congressional with Veronica Escobar and copied Senator Ted Cruz on that. And that is going forward. It is moving forward, which is, he needs a lot of strength in this because of the pressure is incredible. And so we have a petition to just a little gesture um, that I think is very, very powerful, a very powerful gesture that we can make. And I'm hoping that you have signed it. I'm asking that you sign it because it's something that every one of us can get behind with this active duty soldier. And then don't stop there. Campaign for signatures, as many signatures as you can for that. The more signatures, the better when it comes to Veronica Escobar, when it comes to Senator Cruz, because they move on public opinion. They move on social scrutiny. That's how they are driven to do their job. And so this is also will give a lot of protection. The more well known that he is, um, the more protection that he will have. And so I'm hoping that he will give an okay for his name to be released. But until then, pray for him and sign that petition and also campaign for signatures for that petition because not only are our children depending on that congressional inquiry to restrain all the evil that's going on, with the 14-year-old girl living in the barracks, being prostituted out, but also the JAG being so bold and brazen that they don't really care when a soldier comes and reports fraud, waste, and abuse. They don't do anything about it. They're not responsive, and we have a a bar complaint in because of that. In to one of these JAG officers because of that being not responsive to reports of, obstruction of justice and, the missing, disappeared, presumed murdered, a lot of questions about the murder, a lot of circumstantial evidence about the murder, the van, the plane, the Van Buren house, the Red Rio Range, the Area 244, another Area 88, into Kilometer 70, Kilometer 29. I mean, we have lots of information that needs to be sorted, and they need to sort this information. So we're bringing them the leads, we're bringing them the information. They need to sort it, and this congressional will go a long way to help us do that, because the JAG will also then be driven to do their duty. And of course, the rest of the congressional inquiry, I believe there might be one other thing in there, but it's about Richard's case. And so we're very, very grateful. And so please sign it if you haven't yet, and campaign for others to sign it. Okay, everyone, good night. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back